Hey everyone, my name is Sunfrog Smith, Andrew, your teacher on the radio, and we're doing a pre-recorded segment to go out live on 88.5 FM WTTU The Nest on Saturday morning. March the 7th, 2026 is our 522nd episode. And because there's a war going on, I'm going to be talking about war and anti-war for this entire episode. Stay tuned for later in the show. There's going to be an audio documentary I made on cassette tape back during the 1991 Persian Gulf War. You don't want to miss that. But my guest on the air right now is Martha Hyers, Dr. Martha Hyers. She's a poetry collaborator of mine at the Sawmill Poetry Series, which meets on the first Monday of every month for the last 3 or 4 years. She's also one of the editorial members of Under the Sun, which is a creative nonfiction journal. She's been doing that for many, many, many years. And I think she's like a gardener and a nurse and a few other things. But I realize, even though we've known each other for so long and we've collaborated so much these last couple of years, I don't know your literary origin story or your literary backstory. And so why don't you just tell us, for as long as you feel comfortable talking, a few minutes of who you are and how we got to you writing really topical poetry about the current events. They say I'm, as you know, I'm ex-clergy, but they say that the minister should read and prepare for the sermon with the newspaper in one hand and the Bible in the other hand, and speak truth to power, through the pulpit. At least in my tradition, that's how we roll. We channel the prophets, like Jeremiah, Isaiah, Micah, and so on, to speak truth to power. And you use your poetic voice to do the same thing. And you've been writing about war these last couple of years with such clarity, such vision, and such courage. So it's really long overdue that I'm sharing you with my audience on Teacher on the Radio. So Martha, welcome to the show and thanks for being here.
Well, thanks, Andrew. I'm really glad to have this time with you because I really enjoy being with you at Sawmill, and I really appreciate that community that Aaron Hoover has started, and it's been really nice to have that for a community. Well, why do I write this? I'm a heavy consumer of news, and it's my way of responding to it and feeling less alone. And I feel like it may not be safe to write anything these days, but I know that Thomas Hardy said that if he had written his material in a poem, Galileo would never have been excommunicated. And he said that after he had written Thomas Hardy and Thomas Hardy had written Jude the Obscure and had gotten so much negative reaction to that, he just gave up prose and started writing poetry. So that may not be true. I mean, there's really no safe place. But yes, I'm just very upset by all the images I see, and all I have is my voice, and so I raise it, and I care. I mean, I'm a nurse, and I don't like to see people suffer needlessly. I've been in the Army reserves as a nurse, and I don't think I'm a pacifist who's totally against war, because there are times I think I would fight it. And if anyone were trying to attack my grandchildren, I would fight them like a cave woman with my bare hands. So I don't think I'm a total pacifist, but I've been living for 71 years on this planet and in the United States as a United States citizen. And I feel that most of my life has been lived during some kind of war that the U.S. was starting. And I didn't even know about most of them until I became older. And many of them were kept silent or hidden by the CIA. A lot of them didn't even come to be admitted until 2013. So I've lived through a lot, as most Americans have, and I have something to say about it. And
well, I'm so grateful that you use your voice in the way that you do. And I'm so grateful that you do it with such passion and with such clarity. So in the next segment, everyone, we're going to hear a new original poem that you've written in the last week that I heard probably within hours after you wrote it on last Monday. And we're sharing it like 6 days after you read it to Sawmill. We're going to play it on the radio, on the public radio, the community campus nonprofit radio station here at Tennessee Tech. By the way, listeners, if you're just in your car and you've just followed your way down here, this is 88.5 FM WTTU, the Nest, and it's run by the students. They've been letting this teacher up in the booth since 2007, and all views represent me, my personal views, and my guests' personal views. They do not represent the radio station or Tennessee Tech University or the communications department. You'll hear that poem after the next break. But Martha, just get me a little bit more background. Tell the world who you are as a writer. Tell me your poetry and literary origin story.
Oh, okay. Well, I started writing poetry in high school. I lived in Roanoke, Virginia. That's where I was growing up, and I had a wonderful teacher. So I love that. But then I went off to college, and my father died in a car accident, and so I couldn't afford when I was 18. So I couldn't afford that private college. So I came back and went to college in Tennessee. I got married. I had children. I kept writing. I got divorced. I'm a 3-time alumna of Tennessee Tech University. So I got my master's degree in English at Tennessee Tech in 1990. And then, and I loved all of my teachers there. I totally loved my whole experience at Tech. And then I went off and I got this a fellowship to go to, or fellowship or no, assistantship to go to Florida State University and work on my PhD. And so I went off there and I took my children, but I'd just gotten a divorce. It was really hard. And so my son said on his birthday, I said, "What do you want for your birthday?" It was February 17th. He said, "I want to go home." And so that just hit me in the heart. So I drove him home to his grandmother's house here in Tennessee. And I gave up that after in the semester and came back. Lived in a trailer, finally got some kind of place I could live with my kids. My mother came and babysat them. Bless your heart, Mom. You're dead now. But and then I got a nursing degree at Tennessee Tech, and so that was like later I got finished up a French degree there too. But and then finally my daughter graduated from high school, and I went off and I got my PhD got a fellowship at ULL. Loved my whole experience there too. So I'm like a professional student who finally finished paying her student loans at the age of 68. Yay! So I feel for young people and I support them. I don't think they should be in debt their entire lives. And they should be able to afford their houses too. So I support young people. But yeah, I'm still writing. And so, yeah, I wrote during the first Gulf War too, but I couldn't publish them because I was in the military. So
what is ULL?
University of Louisiana at Lafayette.
Oh, fantastic.
It's the middle of Cajun country.
Oh, I love it down there so much. So just briefly, it's not really our topic for the day, but a brief plug for your labor of love. What exactly is Under the Sun, just for anybody who doesn't know about it?
It's a totally nonprofit literary magazine. And thank you to Tennessee Arts Commission that does give it grants sometimes. And it's nonfiction. And so please look us up online, underthesunonline.com. And we do read your work. We actually respond, try to treat other writers as I'd like to be treated and actually give them real responses and not form letters, because that's so disheartening. So over about 6 years, we have created a really good writing community. Some of the writers and readers are in Israel, and I am very much against what's been happening in Gaza. I've been just outraged by it, but these people are also my friends, and I support them as human beings. I'm just totally against what the U.S. has been doing to bomb children in Gaza, and so I'm very, very against that. But I support life for all people, including all Israelis.
So living in Cookeville, Tennessee, and getting in trouble for my big mouth on more than one occasion, I've had to learn to see the humanity in others first, and
Yes.
and not. I've had to walk backwards, many times into the room that I was trying to run away from, because I do believe in that. That is the way. For me, it's the way of Christ. It's the way of Buddha. It's and that's a hard task. And that for me, that has made me, my Christianity has made me a pacifist, and it's not easy. It seems awfully stupid a lot of the times to be a pacifist. Also, when I was a kid, I couldn't fight. And the bigger boys were fighting, and I just knew I wasn't set up for it. So I think I was a practical pacifist on the playground when I was little, because I couldn't fight worth anything. So
we saved by our weaknesses.
My guest is Martha Hires. She's the editor of Under the Sun. She's a perma student with 1,000,000 degrees. She's a nurse. She's a gardener, and she's a stunningly courageous poet. And after the next break, we will hear an original poem written about the war that just started with the bombing of Iran just last week. I'm Teacher on the Radio. This is 88.5 FM The Nest, and my guest is Martha Hires. Let's hear I think I'll play one of the songs that you picked out for us to listen to, and we'll be back with more radio. And at the second half of my show, y'all, I'm not going to talk. I'm going to be playing a couple of audio documentaries about war I think you're really going to enjoy. And thanks for tuning in on Saturday, the 7th of March. We'll be back in just a moment.
My Life with U.S. Regime War Change background music. I was born in 1954, the year the U.S. overthrows the Guatemalan government. Its democratically elected president who wants to return the land in that country to the indigenous people, the Maya, who have lived on it for thousands of years. These people voted for that president. They wanted their land back too. But such democracy is unacceptable to the U.S. and to our CIA, who prefer to side with a corporation, that is, United Fruit Company, later Chiquita Banana, who has claimed this land as its own. So the CIA overthrows the government but denies involvement in this regime change war for 60 years, then admits, yes, that was true. We did that. Same in Iran, where the CIA overthrows the democratically elected president Mossadegh in 1953, the year my parents married. Mossadegh's crime? He wants the oil in Iran to belong to Iranians, not to British Petroleum. A majority of Iranians want this too. That's why they voted for him. But the U.S. opposes this democracy, so the CIA secretly, along with the British MI6, deposes him, siding once again with a corporation. The U.S. imposes the Shah on the Iranian people against their wishes, and we take the oil as we wish. After Kennedy is killed in 1963, I grow up during Vietnam. That war has been going on smaller scale since 1955, but it grows. The news functions in the 60s. It is less like the propaganda it is now. Every night on television, we watch people die. We see Buddhist monks burn. We see napalm children cry and seem to run toward us, their arms outstretched with burning skin. We see American soldiers with young faces, contorted in true pain, dying, their mangled bodies on stretchers. My father, a veteran of World War II, sits in his chair and cries. He shields his face with his hands. His shoulders heave while he sobs silently. Later, their 58,220 faces will be replaced by names on a black granite wall. Millions of Vietnamese will die, unnamed. In 1972, I worked for McGovern, the anti-war candidate, but Nixon wins. The Democratic National Committee afterwards destroys its own inner democratic process in retaliation, creating superdelegates so that such a candidate will never again take over the Democratic Party. From now on, the Democratic Party, too, will belong to neocons. We will get the Clintons. We will get Biden. Only Jimmy Carter will maintain a conscience, and he will live out his century out of office, shunned by his own party. What we do unto others externally comes back to the inner workings of the empire. But in 1972, Nixon wins. He bombs Cambodia. He makes peace with Communist China, which supports the North Vietnamese. It's hard to see why we are still fighting. No doubt, as the protester signs say, it is because war is good business, so invest your son. The war drags on for 20 long years. It is the background music of my life, of college, of marriage, of pregnancies, of the birth of children. War is the soundtrack of all Americans' lives. And it's not a simple melody either. It's a complex harmony, like a Mozart symphony, or in some intricate fugue of death. For while Vietnam goes on, the CIA also works to overthrow democratically elected Allende in Chile. Thousands of peaceful protesters disappear into the Atacama Desert or into the Pacific. In Argentina, too, our CIA supports a dirty war that takes up the refrain of torture, disappearance, death. There are so many of these little wars that the U.S. government creates a manual about them for the Marines, the Small Wars Manual. If you go to the Wikipedia page for United States involvement in regime change, you will find scores of wars, a score of death music you can read at your leisure. There's so much going on in this fugue of death that it's easy to distract the listeners, easy to make them just want to give up and watch the movies. So we live and work through this and try to find peace and pleasure and fight our own small wars. In 1990, I divorced. I moved with my children to Tallahassee for grad school. There's another U.S. war as well. In our apartment with minimal furniture, we sit on the floor and watch bombs light up the sky on TV. The news has changed its focus and its presentation. Now it's all pyrotechnics and distance, sanitized. No scenes of humans and death or pain. I listen to the newscasters sing the praises of the empire, singing how America is a great, again and again. On his birthday, my son asked to go home. He wants stability. He too wants peace. I take him back to his grandmother's, knowing I will finish the semester in Florida, but I will not stay. Life goes on. I become a nurse. To pay back my $20,000 in student loans, I joined the Army Reserves. The war of the day that year actually seems humane. It is to prevent a genocide in Bosnia, where the UN peacekeeping has failed. I think I can get behind that. I'm in for 8 years, but things change. The day my 8-year enlistment is up, Bush goes on TV and says we are at war with Iraq. Stop loss is in effect. I'm against that war, but I'm in the military for 5 more years. I write poems about it. Thousands die. We do not succeed. I live. There's another war. Afghanistan joins the fugue. Like Vietnam, this one too will last 20 years. We won't succeed. I vote for Bernie in 2016. I'm actually excited about voting once again for the first time since 1972. I vote for him in 2022. I give him $3 every time he asks. In 2024, I'm forced to vote for Kamala. What other choice? But she seems to stand with Biden for genocide in Gaza, for neocon adventurism. I don't have much hope. I wonder if the Palestinians in Dearborn who sit the election out or who vote for Trump know more than me. I hate the Democratic Party establishment too. Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, all the leaders who take the blood money of corporations, of AIPAC, who get their photo made with Netanyahu, though sometimes they try to hide. Maybe Trump will save us by his weaknesses, I think. Maybe he can be bribed out of going to war with a jet or two, or maybe he's afraid of how it will affect the stock market. Or maybe his vanity will kick in, his lust for a Nobel Peace Prize. Maybe he will keep the promise he made to his supporters, no more forever wars. Maybe, I hope against all hope, he really cares. In the middle of the night, as if he can sneak the news in while people sleep, Trump wears a bloodless, washed-out hat that reads USA, the word great gone from it, the color gone. He announces a new regime change in Iran. His choice. He says breezily that people will die, but it has to be, and oh well, that's just how wars are. It's worth it. We'll make Iran great again. He who avoided the military himself, he who will not send his own military-age son, he whose children will profit financially from others' deaths. Reporters tell him 4 soldiers have already died. He walks away. He looks old, he looks weak, and he looks scared. I wonder if he was blackmailed or threatened, as well as bribed, to begin this new war. CNN and Fox both sing about the empire and morality and what is just, but 75% of the U.S. population is not convinced. I'm one of them. I'm done with listening to CNN and Lindsey Graham and all the commentators who give him the time of day. This poem doesn't really have a tune yet, and it has just one refrain. Let's try some truth for once. Let's give other people's democracies a chance, and let's stop sending young Americans to die for someone else's profit. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And thanks, my friends, for letting me sing.